Today we're going to learn about creating a pivot table and a pivot chart from a set of data. First of all, let's examine the data. Here we have a 5-column worksheet. It's to represent telesales representatives who make calls. The date, the month, which is the formula, call reference, a word yes or no in column D to say whether the call was successful, and the name of the telesales rep. First of all, to create a pivot table, select one cell. Where we are is fine. Insert tab, pivot table. There's nothing to change on the table range, and I want the pivot table to be on a new worksheet, so simply press OK. Now we are going to set an option. It's not mandatory, but I like to do this to make the pivot table more user-friendly. On the Analyze tab, Options, click on Display and simply take Classic Pivot Table Layout. Just makes it a bit more user-friendly. We're now going to do some drag and dropping of fields into the quadrants on the far right hand side. These of course can be changed if you don't get it right first time. So we're going to have month as a filter, telesales rep as a row, whether the call was successful or not as a column, and we're going to have call reference number as a value. Now the first thing we need to do clearly is not have sum of call reference, but we're going to count how many call references, how many calls were made. So simply double click, choose count, at least now we have 20 calls made. Let's just check that. Back onto the data sheet, you can see there were 20 calls made. I'm going to rename sheet 4 as pivot table and chart. So just to examine the pivot table itself, you can see here we have the usual drop down filter arrows, drop down on sales reps, so you could clearly just choose Bill if you wanted to, or of course you could clear, and you can see all the people. Again, you can choose the months that you want to choose. Now we're going to introduce now what are called a slicer, fairly new feature. From the Analyze tab again, insert slicer. We're going to have a slicer for month and telesales rep. We're going to rearrange these horizontally underneath the pivot table and probably resize them because there aren't many entries in each slice. And let's give them a bit of colour, more appealing to the eye. We're now going to create a pivot chart, and we can do that from the Analyze tab. Click on Pivot Chart, and we're going to keep it quite simple in terms of a clustered column, but we're going to make it a stacked column chart. Click OK. Just going to reorganize the chart itself. Now if you remember, when you click onto the chart, we're going to close down the field list, and you've got what's called a Chart Elements button, which allows you to select data labels. Really quite important these are, and that would say that for Bill, who made 6 calls, 2 were successful and 4 were not. Bill, 6 calls, 2 successful, 4 were not, so on and so forth. The last thing we're going to do is, instead of having a count of the actual calls, we're going to have a percentage. So right click on any cell, show values as percentage of row total. So 66% were unsuccessful for Bill. Select the cells, and we're going to just reduce down the decimals. We don't need the decimal places there. And there we have it. We have Bill 33% successful, 67% unsuccessful. And that's the start of your pivot table and your pivot chart.